there are two types of people in this world. People who generalise and those who don't. As you can probably tell from that sentence, I'm the former. And I'm here to tell you that in fact there are two other types of people in this world. There are those who fully embrace the Christmas period. You know the ones. From the first minute a brown leaf hits the pavement in September, they will spend every weekend through autumn. They will plan every single detail of that one day at the end of the year, and they'll turn it into a joyous year-capping event of great excitement and shared glee. Then there's other people like me and the Grinch. But I stick to my principles, not like him. At the end of the film, that easily swung, hairy green milk toast oaf thawed his heart and gave up on the idea. Christmas is bad. Ain't no societal togetherness thawing my bastard heart. You can stuff that right up your turkey's arse. Rather than go into my reasons for detachment for the season of goodwill, let us instead look at one of the video game adaptations of one of Yuletide's most enduring festive fables. This is perhaps the most redundant of my source explanations, as we're all likely to have at least some working knowledge of how this game came about. How the Grinch Stole Christmas was a 1957 story written by American Theodore Seuss Geisel, aka Dr. Seuss. The tale introduces us to a miserable mountain-dwelling shaggy beast called Grinch, who dislikes the holiday season so much that he acts like a right old dick and plots the best way to derail the December plans of the nearby township of Whoville. After putting a right dampener on Christmas Eve, the grumpy creature soon has an epiphanous moment, realising that Christmas isn't just about presents. Well, burger me sideways, that's a turn up for the books, isn't it? The book has been adapted many times, with the most famous three adaptations being the 60s Boris Karloff narrated animation, the live-action Jim Carrey vehicle, and the 2017 CGI movie with Benedict Cumberbatch lending his larynx to the Santa imposter Sourpuss. The game is based on the Carrey effort, which certainly cleaned up the box office in Christmas 2000, raking in a $346.5 million box office return from its initial budget of $123 million. And that's before its highly successful release on home media, where it sold 8.5 million combined units on VHS and DVD in its first week of release the following November. With that said, it wasn't really beloved by the critics. At the time of writing, the movie has an approval rating of 49% based on 144 reviews at review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes. What a bunch of Grinches! There have been a handful of video game adaptations of The Grinch throughout the years, with a Nintendo DS version coming out in 2007, and one as recently as 2023 on the modern consoles called The Grinch Christmas Adventures. The one we're looking at today is The Grinch that came out the same year as the movie. Fallen Japanese legends, Konami, were the publishing heft behind this one, along with versions for the PC, Dreamcast and PlayStation 1, which you can see on the screen at the moment. That version was coded by Quebec-based coders Artificial Mind and Movement. It got average reviews, like a soap opera Christmas episode, you know what you're getting, and that is predictable slop. The Gameboy Color version, though, was programmed by Konami's Nagoya studio, who I like as they gave me a title that I would like to take beneath the mistletoe and rub my nut chowder all over: Castlevania Symphony of the Night. They were responsible also for Vandal Hearts and two titles, yes two, called Big Ol' Bass. Big Ol' Bass, what a name that is. Fishing, yay. The Grinch Game Boy Color game is a maze-based present steal-em-up, punctuated with brief cutscenes depicting moments from the story and the movie. For the most part, you'll be steering around the green misfit as he tries his hardest to ruin Christmas in a way not seen since the last Mrs. Brown's Boys Yuletide log of a special was curled onto front room televisions. The Grinch must tiptoe about, with the aim being to collect every gift on each stage, with 3 attempts allowed. If the Grinch is spotted, the denizens of Whoville will run after him in order to smother him in love. I'm sure we're all familiar with someone at a staff Christmas party who tries to do just that, and the subsequent emergency HR meeting that followed the next day. If the Whovian captures the Grinch in a warm embrace 3 times, he will be forced to enjoy, inverted commas, Christmas with these jerks before his heart has fully thawed. And honestly, that might be the worst game over scenario that I could imagine. The game's gameplay basically takes a few cues from another Konami title, those being the earlier MGS games. Basically, you have to stay out of sight. If they spot you, then they will chase after you until they tire or slam, slap, bang into someone else. The Grinch is able to suppress his opponents with a sleeping dust blowpipe that has a very short range, but he can also pick up green eggs, but no ham, to hurl at foes at a distance. The Grinch is not alone though in his anti-Christmas terrorism. He is aided by long-suffering yet loyal Mutt Max, who takes centre stage for 2 of the game's levels. He has no form of attack, but he can leap advancing opponents, which is something the Grinch cannot. Sandwiched right in the middle is a vehicle section, which is still set out in much the same maze chase manner, just now you have to accelerate to get the car to move. To be honest, it's a bit of a pig to control and is a real low point in the game, so it's good that there's only 1 level dedicated to the car section. Presentation is fairly excellent. Obviously there's not a great deal you can do with a snowy township, but the Grinch is fairly well animated, and he and Max's portraits change depending on the situation, which is a nice touch. Music is fairly solid, if unremarkable, festive frippery. Gameplay is alright actually, nothing more, nothing less. I think it's a decent use of the license, this Pac-Man crossed with Metal Gear gameplay. It works surprisingly well. There's often a lot of puzzle-like planning involved with your anti-claws assault, ensuring that you don't get caught while up to no good. There is a time limit that is pretty tight, though this can be added to by collecting the T icons dotted around the map. Sometimes the stage locations are a little confusing to figure out, but you'll soon figure it out after a few attempts. And there are passwords and infinite continues, so you can be assured of some progress. The Grinch is a nice, sedate but fairly lengthy challenge that I feel comfortable in recommending. But, as ever, much like Christmas itself, it sure outstays its welcome if you're at it too long. But, overall, a decent game. Reviews for the Grinch, though, ranged from dismal to excellent. CMVG were the Mismog camp. In their January 2001 issue, which if you remember you would buy in December, the game got a 2 out of 5. They said, "The oversized Grinch is a faff to control, the maze quickly become dull and repetitive, as does the gameplay. Skillful leaping aside to make 2 maddened enemies crash into each other is about as satisfying as it gets. You deserve better this Christmas, you've been good." Total Game Boy, they weren't having any of that. They said in their December 2000 edition, "I can see me having loads of fun on Christmas Day with this great game. There's nothing complicated or tricky about how to play it. It's basically Pac-Man with the Grinch being the game's main character instead of a yellow ball thingy. And there's a bunch of new ideas like multiple screens and mini-games, but it's really addictive and thoroughly recommended. Just don't take it with you to the cinema when you go to see the movie." They gave it a 90 out of 100. So yes, disagreement there, like relatives arguing about politics over the roast potatoes. Next week, we're going to discover if Will Ferrell is good or bad for your elf. Do you see what I did there? Do you see elf health? I'm sure you did, and I'm sure you've already clicked off because I'm talking a load of rubbish. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and like, subscribe, and thanks, bye.